Welcome to Bear Archery's Hunting 101 podcast, where hunters new and old come to learn and find inspiration from stories of hunts gone by. Everyone is welcome to enjoy the outdoor way of life, and there is no better time to start than right now. So let's head into the great outdoors with your host, Dylan Ray.
All right, welcome to Bear Archery's Hunting 101 podcast. I am joined by Andy Donald, better known as Nocturnal Archer, correct?
That's right, Dylan. G'day, mate. It's great to be here.
Man, it's a pleasure to have you on. I've watched your stuff for a long time and been a big fan. And, you know, I even learned more about you that made me even a bigger fan. So it's a pleasure to have you on, and I'm excited to talk just some archery talk.
Oh, yes, always.
Before we jump in, give us a quick introduction to yourself, my friend.
Yeah, rightio. Well, I live in Melbourne, Australia. I'm in my late 30s. I took up archery a little late in life, around about the same time that Fred Bear did, actually. Just turning 30. I've been a professional musician since I've left school. I'm a teacher of music and studying to be a primary school teacher. And I'm legally blind with a vision impairment called rod monochromatism, which is quite rare. And it's categorized by extreme sensitivity to light. So that explains some of the pseudonym. I much prefer the nighttime. And yeah, I mean, that's me in a nutshell at the moment. I'm completely obsessed with archery, of course, and it's just been a fantastic journey for about the last 8 years.
Now, I'm curious to know, so when you say legally blind, walk me through how well you can actually see.
All right. Yep.
Because, you know, people like I've talked to people and they're like, well, yeah, I'm legally blind. You know, but they can still function quite well. Like, even if they took their glasses off, they could still function quite well.
Yep.
So walk me through, like, because I'm anxious to get into this, like, from an archery standpoint. So in order to get into that, I kind of want to just understand, like, you know, is it long, what's the words I'm looking for here? Nearsighted, or farsighted,
short-sighted. Yeah. I'll give you a rundown. Well, first of all, vision impairment is an extremely broad spectrum of different conditions, and there's quite a lot of variety amongst them. So it's not quite always as simple as long or short-sighted. There's a lot of variety there. But legally blind, it's a pretty accurate term to use because there's an official definition of it. So if perfect vision or average vision is 20/20, you can have better than 20/20. My vision, or a legally blind person's vision, is well, I only know it in meters here. It's less than 660. So what the average person can see at 60 meters, a legally blind person would have to get closer than 6 meters to say read a street sign or something like that. Now that's more to do with visual acuity, so how clear things are. But it doesn't mean that you can't see. And really a good way to explain what being legally blind means is, you know, I can't drive, and that's a pretty relatable thing for most people. So yeah, if you're legally blind, you can't get your driver's license. You can't do things that require good vision, like fly a plane or become a, you know, forklift driver or something like that. So that's why I use the term legally blind, but it is a bit confusing sometimes because I'm certainly not blind. I usually explain it by saying I'm vision impaired. And one of the things with vision impairments is that they can often change dramatically based on the conditions. So people can be night blind, so the dark is a really difficult time for them. For me, it's the opposite. My condition is called rod monochromatism, and it affects the rod cells in my eyes. It affects the cone cells. You'd think I'd know by now. So the cone cells are clustered in the center of your eye, and they take care of things like your color vision. They take care of reading in fine focusing in long distance. They're your central vision, and they're active during the day or in when bright lights are around. So I function purely on my rod cells, and they're scattered around the back of the eye, and they take care of your peripheral vision. They do your night vision, and they're also, it's kind of like they're in a higher frame rate but lower definition, if that makes sense. So I've enjoyed practicing martial arts since I was young, and often you're told, don't focus on your opponent, use your peripheral vision. And one of the reasons for that is that your peripheral vision will pick up fast moving objects much better than your central vision. I don't actually have central vision, if that makes any sense. My brain covers this blind spot up quite well, so I don't really notice it. But essentially, yeah, it's quite a, I suppose it's quite a flat perspective from my end. I'm seeing only with my peripheral vision. So that's why the visual acuity is so low. But really the most significant factor is the sensitivity to light. And during the day, or say if I popped into the 7-Eleven, if I don't have a pair of sunglasses, and preferably, I wear custom red, extremely dark like a welding mask, contact lenses under the sunglasses as well. They help me function in those situations. And another symptom that people find pretty fascinating is that I don't see any color at all, because your cone cells take care of the color. So I'm completely colorblind, and that doesn't really bother me because I've never known any different. But it is pretty fascinating to talk about color. I never really get tired of trying to understand it, and so that's me in a nutshell. Like with in terms of my eyesight, I use I don't really need mobility aids like a white cane for feeling my way around, or a guide dog, but I do often use what's called an ID cane, an identification cane. It's a smaller version of a white cane, and it's pretty handy when I'm in a big city or something. Like Melbourne's quite a big city, so I often use it walking through the city or in places I'm not familiar with, and it just lets other people know that, I might not see you riding your bike down the road, or I'm, when I'm crossing the street, or walking down the footpath. Yeah. I might not see you before you see me.
So how did all this translate into archery? Like what, I guess in my mind, I'm thinking like, if I can't see the target well, I'm not going to try to shoot. So what made you think like, I'm going to pick this up and do this?
Yeah, it's a good question. Look, I guess, first of all, I was just drawn to archery. I love traditional bows, and I just became fascinated with them. It's something I've always wanted to get into, but it took me a while to find the time. And but then that is a question I really had to ask myself, and it's been a really interesting learning experience, the whole journey. If I can't see the target, I'm not going to try and shoot at it. Obviously, that would be irresponsible. But there are situations where I can see the target, and there may be situations where I might be able to see it and you might not. Say if it was very low light. So I guess to answer your question, I don't shoot very far, and that's one of the reasons I was drawn to traditional archery and traditional bow hunting, is that, you know, we like to get in close. And so 20 meters is absolutely my max distance in terms of hunting. And once again, if a shot doesn't present itself to me, then it's not going to happen. So it's all about working within your means and being responsible in that way. But more generally, if I can see the target, I might not be able to see the bullseye point itself, but if I can see the whole target, if it's a 3D animal, I mean, they don't have visible bullseyes on them anyway, of course, but if you can make out a target, you can find the center of that target, even if you can't see the bullseye itself. And I don't use sights or anything like that. So I find instinctive archery was definitely the path for me because it has some really strong links to your kinesthetic awareness and your proprioception. So I'm using, my technique and my sense of touch and combining it with the information that I'm getting from my eyes, which isn't, it's certainly not useless. Archery is very much a visual sport, although I do know lots of people that are blind, partially blind, totally blind, and you can practice archery if you have a vision impairment or even if you're totally blind. However, to hunt ethically, obviously, you really need to have some vision enough to make it ethical. So I just stick to the low light times, which works out pretty well sometimes. So yeah, I don't know if that answers your question.
Yeah, no, it does. So I know with struggling during the daylight, I mean, if you were to say an animal, whatever species you're hunting, walks out during the day, there's really not much you can do about it, right? I mean,
well, with my vision aids, with my contact lenses and my sunglasses, I get around pretty well during the day, and I guess it's the same as it is for any hunter. If I can see it and if it presents itself and it's a responsible shot, then I'll take the shot. However, I guess those shots, don't present themselves to me as often as they would to other people. So with average vision. So I just take it from that perspective. I really try and just focus on what I can achieve in that moment. And if the shot doesn't present itself, then that's the way it goes. But thankfully, a lot of, as you well know, a lot of hunting opportunities are around dawn and dusk. And that suits me pretty well.
Yeah. Now, before we move on, I got another question I'm excited to ask you. I do need to give a quick thank you to our friends over at Bonning. They make arrow components, and of course, everybody knows the Blazer vane, but they have so many different vanes. So whether you're a target archer or bow hunter, they have so many different vanes. I am personally loving the 3-inch Bronco and a 4-fletch. But also they have all the tools to build your arrows, all of your fill points and nocks and wraps and tools. fletching jigs. So go check out Bonding Archery, and they have some incredible Fredbear branded products that I absolutely love. The Fredbear flannel wraps are incredibly good looking. So go check out Bonding Archery. So you were a target archer how long before becoming a bow hunter?
Oh no, I've never been a target archer. Yeah, never done target archery or any kind of archery competition before, actually. So yeah, never used a bow with a sight. Never shot in a competition.
So I should say that you practiced archery. How long before you decided to go hunting?
Yes, yeah. About 7 years. Yeah.
Okay.
Solid practice, figuring out how to make it work, getting my technique really honed, because for me, I guess I'm not sure what it's like for people with average vision, but I imagine, if you're able to see in that level of detail, that you can make adjustments on the fly a bit more, or you can rely on your vision to correct some bad form, or get around that and be a bit more forgiving that way. My philosophy has always been I really need my technique, particularly shooting a traditional bow, to be very reliable, because if I can't rely on my technique, then I can't fall back on 20/20 vision to sort of make up the difference. I need to have that reliable technique, and I need to really trust in my form and what I can feel through the bow, to know that, to have confidence in where I'm sending that arrow. So I practiced, for a long time before I thought about making the move to hunting, and it's been a really recent move. So I haven't. It's only been in the last almost the last 6 months, really, that I've had some fantastic mentors, and here in Australia, and we've gone hunting, and it's been just amazing. We're planning a hunt for next month. Here it's the rut season, so yes. So I think that might be a bit more of a longer time frame than some people getting into archery and thinking about hunting. But to be honest, hunting wasn't really something I'd considered when I got into archery, and it's only through meeting people and learning more that I decided this is something I'd really like to do. And it was a really eye-opening experience. Hunting is not at all mainstream in Australia. I don't have any family members or friends outside of the friends I've made through archery recently that hunt. It's a shame that it's like that, because it's an amazing place to hunt here in Australia. We don't hunt any native animals. All the animals we hunt are introduced feral species, cause a lot of destruction to the native wildlife, and so it's great to be able to bring something positive from something that causes a lot of destruction. And of course, we always, I personally am all about hunting for the meat, and that's been really important to me too.
Now I can tell you this: I had a conversation with my friend Ben Solaris from Australia, and hearing about the hunting scene in Australia, even when we plan, people from the States, when we plan out of country hunts, you don't usually hear a lot about Australia. You don't normally hear your friends say, I'm planning a hunt in Australia. But after that conversation with my friend Ben, Australia is near the very top of my wish list. Hearing about some of the incredible species and hunting opportunities and the game-rich environment, it is near the very top of my to-do list. It just sounds like an absolute blast. And seeing some of his videos and seeing the terrain and seeing where he's hunting and how he's hunting, I need to make it happen to hunt in Australia.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it's a beautiful, big country. And there's a lot of variety. Obviously, I'm still, well in the learning stage of it myself, but it's a bit of a different scene down here. There are lots of rules, of course. They're different from state to state. I'm no expert on them, but we don't have a tag system. We don't really have seasons, and there is quite an interesting variety of game to hunt down here, and New Zealand as well. New Zealand is somewhere where I've been a few times before, but I've never hunted there. But it's definitely on my wish list as well.
So, what do you hunt? I mean, what? You said you're going next month. What are you hunting next month?
I think we'll be chasing some fallow deer and maybe some sambar. But there are a few other species of deer. There's some red deer, chital deer, feral goats, feral pigs, rabbits and foxes. If you go into the desert, you might find a camel. I don't know if that happens very often. Believe it or not, people do hunt feral cats. They're an enormous pest here in Australia, and I think they'd give your mountain lions a run for their money, to be honest. They get pretty vicious. You can go up to the Northern Territory and hunt water buffalo. Like I said, I'm just in the learning stage myself, but those are definitely a few species. Yeah, I did a hunt last year, which was my first successful hunt, and we were hunting some feral goats, and that was really, really fun. That was with my mate Jack Spinks and Anthony from Little Axe down here. And so I think we'll be chasing some deer next month.
Now that I just love, and you said the first one you said was fallow deer. And in talking with Ben, I got excited about all the deer species, and I'm like, man, I gotta get there, and hearing him tell the stories of kangaroos or what do you call them there?
Kangaroos, wallabies. Yeah, wallabies are the smaller ones. Yeah.
Hearing him tell the stories of those and how they'll blow a stalk and he'll be stalking an animal and he'll have to like box one off. I'm like, man, I gotta come there. It just sounds like a blast. But no, I really fun. Can't wait. Now, are there any kind of legal laws against hunting with the vision impairment, or is it just like you can see, you can hunt?
I don't really know. Not as far as I'm aware. I mean, I'm hunting with the traditional bow, so I'm getting in very close, and for me, it's really more about being there. I was thrilled to take a few goats last year. That was amazing, and I was even more excited to share the meat with friends and family. But to be honest, I really enjoy just being out there and being amongst it, learning about the way animals want to move and how they interact and all of those subtleties of hunting is definitely more that's the major appeal for me. So, yeah, I can't answer that question, I'm afraid. But as far as I'm aware, I haven't come across any regulations like that. Probably
Well,
should
that's good.
research a bit more, but yeah,
That's good. Now, I know when you mentioned you couldn't see color, my first immediate thought as a bow hunter was like, well, how in the crud do you track a blood trail? And
Mm-hmm.
and I've got a friend who's colorblind, and sure enough, he can't see the color red.
Mm.
And so anytime he shoots a deer, or if he's out with me, he's virtually worthless for tracking a deer. And I'm like, oh, he went this way. He's like, do you see blood? And I'm like, dude, there's a pile right here. What are you talking about? He's like, I can't see it at all. But he's
Yeah.
virtually worthless. So have you ran into that issue yet?
Yep. Yeah, I'm in the same category there as far as seeing it. It doesn't stand out to me. I mean, I've always been hunting with friends, so luckily we rely on each other. I'm keen to get into hunting with Labrador, and that I think will be the way forward for me, using a tracking dog to assist me and even in the stalk as well. So yeah, that's yet to happen. It's down the track, but I think that will be how I'm going to tackle hunting solo. But for the moment, I'm really lucky to have a whole bunch of excellent friends and mentors down here, and we help each other out. Sometimes when they lose something in the dark, they might call on me for help. So.
Now that is the now can you hunt pigs there at night?
Yeah, people do. On private property, I'm not sure of all the different rules. I mean, usually there's the standard rules of not hunting after sundown. So yeah, I haven't tried that yet, but
so here pigs are so invasive that you can hunt them any way you want.
Oh, really?
You can hunt them with thermal scopes. You can hunt them with spotlights.
Wow.
You can hunt them, run dogs. You can do anything.
It's much the same here, to be honest. I think, there's a lot of that sort of stuff going on. I mean, especially on private properties.
If it was pitch black out, I mean, could you see and hunt hogs without any sort of lights? I mean, is your vision that good at night?
Not in pitch black, it's not like super night vision, but here's the thing with my vision. My eyes are always at their most light sensitive. That's where they're stuck. That doesn't change. They don't adjust to the light. So if you put yourself in a pitch black room, no light whatsoever, and you sat there for half an hour or 45 minutes, then your eyes are as sensitive as mine. As soon as you turned your phone on, had a look, bang, your cone cells come back online, and you're going to have to spend another half an hour resetting your night vision. For me, that period of adjustment doesn't exist, so it's pretty debilitating during the day sometimes if I don't have the proper equipment, but at nighttime, it can be somewhat of an advantage. But I think one of the other things is I'm just far more comfortable if there's slightly less than enough light as opposed to slightly more than enough light. I'm much more comfortable seeing in the dark, but they're still just human eyes. I can't see in the pitch black. But if there's a bit of a moon out, then I feel fairly confident, and I love practicing at night as well. So yeah, that's definitely when I'm shooting my best.
Now, I saw a video of you not too long ago, and it was 20 meters, and you were shooting a little bitty dot, and I mean, all three arrows just stack right in there. And I'm thinking, Lord have mercy, I can't shoot that good, and I can see the dot.
Yeah, it doesn't happen it doesn't happen every time, let me tell you that. Let's be honest here. Yeah, that would have been down at the range on a big black target face. It was probably about a 1.5 by 1.5 meter target face, and I put a white dot on it. Because of the difference in the contrast there, I can see that dot. So I mean, I can see it. I wouldn't say it's clear, but I don't have much. I wouldn't say it would be clear to you. To me, it's as clear as it gets. I don't know any different. And the funny thing about rod monochromatism is it's not so much that you have a classic long or short sightedness, which is caused by a misshapen eyeball, basically, and not focusing properly on the back of your eye. And it's actually just the low definition of the rod cells that you're seeing with. So it's not blurry. It's just like the difference between high definition TV and regular TV, or a video game in the early 90s and a video game now. When stuff gets into the distance, it's just a little pixel basically until it disappears. So at 20 meters, that's not a bad distance for me. But having said that, even if I took that large target out to 50 meters, it's a pretty big target. And if I know the dot is in the center of it, then even if I can't see the dot and I can see the large square target, I can put that dot in my mind and pick that spot and place that arrow in the middle. Not that I'm very good at that distance, so, that's all theoretical. But but yeah, that's kind of how I approach that sort of stuff.
I got you. So it's more of so for you, it really truly in the purest sense of the form is instinctive shooting. Now, before I go on, I do need to say thank you to our friends over at Koa Optics. Koa Optics have been really good friends of mine for a long time. They make some of the finest Japanese glass on the face of the planet. Their spotting scopes, I would literally put their spotting scopes up against anybody. Their binoculars are fantastic, and they have some incredible warranties. So go check out Koa Optics for all of your glassing needs, because I'm just a huge fan of them. I don't use anything else, and they have always treated me very well. You have a kind of a collection of bare bows going on over there, don't you?
Yep, I really got stuck into collecting bare bows when I got into archery. In fact, yeah, when I was completely new to archery when I first started, and just looking around at what was available in Australia, I stumbled across bear. I just love the history of bear archery and learning about the adventures of Fred Bear. It just really inspired me, and then I realized, what how many amazing vintage bows were still around and still shooting well, and all these different varieties. I think I get a little bit obsessed with collecting sometimes. I don't know what that is, but it does kind of, I got to tell you, it really does take off and can get a little out of control sometimes. And I think it did in the best possible way with collecting bows. So the collection peaked, and then over the lockdown here, I may have had to shed a few in the collection, but yeah, it's still keeping me busy just getting to know them all. And I have quite a few modern bears, but I really do like the vintage ones that I've found. And even though, like I said earlier, I'm not a target archer, just got something for the old target bows that the bear used to produce, like the Tamerlane and the Tartare and what's the other one I'm thinking, the Temujin, and yeah, things like that. Lots of ornate things. They really remind me of the sort of classic cars of the 50s and 60s, and they've got those curves to them, and I don't know what it is, but yeah, it's a fascinating link, you know.
That's part of the beauty of recurves and longbows. Because nobody looks at a compound. I mean, I look at a compound and I think, man, that thing looks bad. But nobody looks at a compound and they're like, oh, it's so beautiful.
No.
But with a recurve, they're a work of art, each and every one of them. My grandpa actually recently passed on, and I got a recurve from him, and just gorgeous. Like you said, it's almost like looking at a classic car. I'm looking at it right now, and just the lines and the cuts in it. I mean, it's just gorgeous, and the wood, and that doesn't happen with a compound. Now there's a different appreciation for like the craftsmanship and like machining and design work that goes into a compound.
Sure.
But with a recurve, it's just like, man, it really truly is a work of art. And speaking of compounds, my wife just got her new Legit in last week.
Cool.
If you're not familiar with the Legit, it's one of the compounds that can go from 7 pounds to 70 pounds and 12 inches to 32 inches. So anybody in the world can shoot this bow. And I am incredibly pleased with the way this thing is shooting. I put it to my draw length and weight and shot it a few arrows and then quickly set it down to hers. And just a phenomenal shooting bow for such a price point bow, and such a bow that anybody can shoot. And when my wife gets a new one, she can pass it to our kids. And I mean, just a phenomenal bow.
Yeah, it's very versatile.
If you haven't got your hands on a Legit, run out and try one, because it is a fantastic bow, a bow the whole family can enjoy shooting. And by a few turns of an Allen wrench, you can set it to anybody in your family to shoot. So just a fantastic bow. I've been incredibly pleased with. Now over your time in traditional archery, Fred Bear was big on his field notes, and I try to always ask people, what's something you've learned in your journey into becoming a better archer, something that I can take and put in my back pocket and make myself a better archer with?
Mate, there's just so much I've learned. It's really hard to pin it down, and I feel like I am constantly a beginner at this, no matter. And I think that feeling will probably continue forever. Like it's just really hard to pin down. A lot of the stuff I'm learning is just really reinforcing the basics. It's fine to know these things in theory, but until you get out there and try to implement it, it's hard to fully appreciate and understand. But I guess, from my perspective, and I don't know if this is of any use to you, but to anyone listening, archery is such an amazing art form, and it's so accessible. And that's one of the things I love about it. Doesn't matter what disability you might have. If you have a disability, if you're interested in archery, I would say go for it. Do some research. You will find someone in a similar situation to you practicing archery, and it's just a remarkably accessible sport, art discipline, whatever you want to call it, and that's one of the things that I wasn't so sure about when I first started, but now that has become really, really clear to me. I just completed my level 1 archery coaching course and been getting into a bit of casual assistance down at the club and things like that, and I just that has really opened my eyes to how big para archery is in Australia and around the world, and how much archery has to offer to anyone in any situation. I've seen so much evidence that it's an incredibly accessible sport, and you should definitely get into it if you feel the urge to. Don't hesitate.
Yeah, absolutely. Archery is for everyone, and that was the biggest mindset, I believe, of Fred Bear, that archery is for everybody and it should be accessible to all. And so that's why Bear Archery to me is just such an incredible company, because they don't leave anyone out, and they've truly embraced that mentality of archery for everyone. And so I'm truly grateful for that being their mindset and the way they think, because you're 100% correct. I hear people all the time tell me, well, I can't afford a bow. And I'm like, well, you might not be able to afford, the $1,400 bow that you see this guy shoot on Instagram, but you can afford the $200 used one off Craigslist, and that's okay. It's okay to get that, and it's okay. It at least gets you started. It gets your foot in the door. It gets you shooting. The legit that I just mentioned and raved on about. My wife, that bow is, again, a phenomenal shooting bow that literally anybody can shoot, and you can get it fully set up and ready to roll for $400. And
Wow.
so archery is for everybody, and it's accessible to all. And even if you couldn't afford the 400, you can find one, on eBay for $150, $200, and be out in the woods shooting and be out in the woods hunting. And so, absolutely fantastic tip there, and it's something that I wish more people who had platforms would preach, that archery is for everybody.
Absolutely.
Well, Andy, I appreciate your time so much, man. It was an absolute pleasure. We're recording here. It's about 6 p.m. my time. I know it's like, what, 8 a.m. your time?
It's 20 to 9 here. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Nice and early. Yeah.
Nice and early. You're still getting your coffee in, and I'm about ready to go sit in my recliner for the rest of the night. So, no, it was an absolute pleasure talking with you, man. Before we go, I do need to give a thank you to my friends over at Wise Eye Technology. They make some of the finest cellular trail cameras on planet Earth. And what I mean by finest is this. You download their app, and the camera will send the pictures to the app. I never have to go check my camera. I've got a solar panel on the camera, so I never have to go check it. Batteries never die. And the app will actually put different deer in different folders based on characteristics. So if I want to see pictures of the deer I named Sticks, then I can go in there and just look at his folder and just look at pictures of him, see when he's showing up, see where he's coming from, where he's going. But also it's got game recognition technology, so I don't have to look at the 1,000 pictures of does and squirrels and coons. I only get the pictures of the big bucks I want to see, and that's all I'm worried about. Just a fantastic system. So go check out Wise Eye Technology, because I truly believe that they are the best in cellular trail cameras. Andy, again, thank you so much for coming on, man.
Dylan, the pleasure was all mine. Thank you for having me.
Yes, and next time you buy a new Bear bow and you find one of those old antique bows, send a picture to me, share it with me. I'd love to see it, because those are gorgeous, man. You have a couple very, very beautiful Kodiaks.
Oh yes, I love the Kodiaks. Yeah, I'm thinking I might take one away next month. Actually, which will be the first time hunting with that.
Yeah, that is one of the prettiest bows on planet Earth.
Yeah, I have to agree with you there.
My friend Chris Perino, he loves the Kodiak. That's his favorite bow. He loves the Kodiak. Just a great bow. But Andy, man, thank you so much for coming on. Guys, thank you so much for listening. I hope you'll have a great week. Get out there and shoot your bow, because just like Andy said, archery is for everyone. You're welcome, and we want you to participate with us.